Good morning, Bucknutters. Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Cotton Bowl is tomorrow. Good Lord. We've come so far this season. Just a little bit more to go. Feeling good. Got a great show for you today. The Dean, Bill Kurelic, the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter will be here, but you guys are getting ready. You're feeling like some extra energy. Maybe you're not. You need our sponsor. Patrick Murphy would tell you, Joy Mode. Say goodbye to weakness in the bedroom with Joy Mode's Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural supplement is designed to enhance you going forward. But Joy Mode just isn't about better sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, enhances your athletic performance. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it's proven to improve function by 50% in just 60 days. Simply mix a pack with water and feel the effects within 45 minutes. Take control by getting a boost anytime, anywhere, and never missing a beat. Join the over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without the side effects. Start a subscription today and save up to 30%. Keep your performance at its best without any interruptions. If you are looking to take your game to the next level, visit tryjoymode.com, tryjoymode.com. Use code Bucknuts for 20% off single purchases and 30% off subscription orders, and tell them that Pat Murphy sent you. Bill Kurelic is here. Mark Porter is here. Gentlemen, let's just start with the most pressing things. Tomorrow, Cotton Bowl. What are your feelings as we get rolling here? Dave and I discussed this. You and I discussed this. We've gone from being the most vilified program in the country to the program that everybody believes is going to win. What does that mean? William Kurelic, how are you feeling with the Cotton Bowl breathing down our necks here?
Excited that it is just about here. And I look back and when the pairings initially came out, people said, and I certainly did not disagree, look at the gauntlet Ohio State has to go through. Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and probably Georgia. That Georgia thing didn't work out, but they're bearing down on getting through that gauntlet. Interesting. I didn't really think initially about, well, you got to go to Texas and play them in basically a home game to beat Texas. But on the positive side, if they win, they don't have to go to Georgia and play Georgia for a home game. So that's a positive. But yeah, Texas up front concerns me a bit. They're good up front. Front seven, it's going to be very physical. It's going to be interesting. But Ohio State has really done a great job up front in these two games. Quinn Ewers, concerned there too. How bad he wants to beat Ohio State. So that is interesting. And will Manning play? I think that's an interesting storyline. But I think the biggest thing to me is it is basically a Texas home game, and hopefully Ohio State can conquer that. And to be honest, I think they will.
It is a Texas home game, theoretically, but Rick Montoya lets us know that the weather down there is more like my backyard right now, although it's done. The snow is coming down in Texas. Let's hope that throws everybody off. Let's hope your Buckeyes feel comfortable driving to the stadium, but let's also remember room temperature, people. It's inside in Jerry World. The weather will not matter. Mark, you've been on point on these. Your thoughts?
The Buckeyes have the feel of a peaking team. And I was a Niners fan in the 80s, and I think that was the term they always used as those Super Bowl teams were going in. You'd start to see those 30, 40-point scores. It seemed like the offense scored every time they had the ball. The perfect storm of attitude and people hating on Ohio State and the fans, it's all kind of come together where Ohio State's playing their best football of the year. I mentioned it the other day. the health problems we had on the O-line, we've had enough time to recover from that now. The kids that have stepped in have had time to play. They've played in big games and big stages. They've played, good and bad, but it's been mostly good lately. So I like the way everything's kind of setting and gelling into place for Ohio State. I think Ohio State should easily win this game. I was more worried about Oregon. I'm not worried about the Texas crowd or whatever. I don't think it'll be that overwhelming or that loud. But all these games have a hyped atmosphere anyways. But I'm feeling pretty good. And there's a lot of storylines. We're Bucknutters, so we dive into so many things so deep. But that offensive line has been a storyline. And the guys who have stepped in, whether it's Montgomery or whatever, they've had moments. Will they have more moments? Will they be able to push that front around? The Chip Kelly play calling was as good as it could be a week ago. I mean, out of the Michigan game, there's people that wanted his head and thought he didn't know football. And then all of a sudden you see some brilliant play calls that worked to perfection. Will Howard versus Manning and Ewers, who's going to have the better game? There's been some talk out there, who's the best quarterback left in the playoffs. And we know Will can get hot and can get accurate in a second. And we see his size and his speed. Will he put on a show? Our receivers, will Jeremiah Smith dominate again? Will he look like everyone came out of this last game, Terrell Owens and Megatron and Andre Johnson and Julio Jones, all these comparisons. Is that guy going to show up again? And then, of course, the Jim Knowles defense has been rock solid and suffocating at times. And I think Texas, just looking at how Texas has played this year, they go hot and cold. They have some quarters where they can't get out of their own way. They can't play on air. So I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I was really nervous about the Oregon game for no reason, apparently. So this one hopefully goes the direction I see it.
Mark, looking back, you said about Texas getting hot and cold. Remember that first game of the season? They went to Michigan and absolutely dominated Michigan at Michigan. That was a heck of a performance. So they're capable of it, but as you mentioned or referred to, Mark, they've also had some not so good of performances.
Yeah, and when you read up on them, you see they have quarters where they couldn't get a first down and they go through little stretches, but they do heat up in a hurry. So I think this defense could really put some cold water on them and make it a little harder. I think this is the best team Texas has seen all year.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Statistically, if you look at the entire season, Ohio State and Texas have the two best defenses. I'm not a huge fan of those stats personally, just because an extreme majority of the statistics were built against teams that they're just much better than, both teams. I wish they would give you some kind of statistic where they could tell you how you performed when you were mostly healthy against other really good teams when they were mostly healthy, and delete all the other stuff. I'm being dead serious. If I was in charge.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm agreeing with you 110% because, when people do analytics on a game and they say, okay, when Texas played this game, and this game, here's what they did. That's based on the defense they saw that day, the down and distances they saw that day, the personnel they had in. It has nothing to do with what they'll do against you and the problems you'll present and the matchups you'll present. Texas may have had a matchup against the 3 technique where they wanted to beat that kid's butt the whole day because they knew he wasn't going to hold up. Where at Ohio State, they may see a 3 technique where we ain't challenging that kid. So you have this tendency where they ran at a 3 technique 15 times and it's going to go to 0 against you, but you're going to prepare for that tendency. So I'm trying to 100% back what you're saying, Dan, that sometimes as analysts, and we got to talk about this stuff, we see these stats and we try to read something into them. And I think that's why, you run into these anomalies of gaps in logic.
What I need is an intern who will spend the time to put that stat together, because it would be very, very difficult and applicable across several sports. However, if you and I also told you guys I am a draft nerd, and I follow a couple guys who I think do a great job on the draft, who are not biased, at least not biased towards Ohio State. Did you know that the Thorpe Award winner for the best defensive back in the country was awarded to Texas defensive back Jahdae Barron? He's in his third year at Texas. First year safety, second year slot corner. This year he was their main cover corner. So you've also probably seen that Texas does play a lot of zone coverage. However, they have at times put Barron on the other team's best wide receiver and attempted to take him out. I'm putting in a personal request to the Texas coaching staff that they put Jahdae Barron one-on-one and follow Jeremiah Smith around the field so that Jeremiah Smith can torture the Jim Thorpe Award winner. I do not think they'll do it, but I wonder if they just try and surprise us and go good on good and say, look, this is our best defensive back. We're not, I've also heard people say, they should go Bill Belichick and put Jahdae Barron on Emeka Egbuka and double Jeremiah Smith. That was the approach that Belichick would do. He'd take your number one receiver, double him, and then take your number two guy and put his best corner on him, and that way you kind of shut them down. So that is what I'm going to be looking for. How is Texas going to approach the secondary? Because traditionally what they've done, if they do that, I think we're going to have an even bigger day than we may have thought. The one thing that I keep coming back to is that nobody has really solved the defense since the Oregon game. Since they changed things up defensively, scheme-wise, and I think, if you're writing the story of the season and all this works out beautifully, you'll look back at the Michigan game as the offensive, algorithm breaker that they needed to change. But the defense has changed dramatically since the Oregon game as well, the first one, and they've been so successful. And I just keep coming back to, I think we have Ed Reed back there. I just think there's been several plays where a guy I think is going to break free and someone comes in and tackles him from the bottom and is willing to grab the ankles and kicked in the chin. And it's always Caleb Downs. And it just gives me this sense of calm in the back that I usually don't get. It's called I would call it the anti-Dallas Cowboys feeling. So it's so
It's like the Cowboys when they hog tie those calves. You see those calves running full speed, and all of a sudden, boom,
down.
It's when Caleb Downs comes out of the secondary and gets somebody in the flats, a tailback who bounces or a flat pass. It is uncanny how much ground he covers and where he's making initial contact. It's at least 2 yards deeper than most other safeties. And
I think he dropped 2 interceptions in the last game. And I have a feeling guys like Caleb Downs, that is driving him insane. And he won't let that happen again, and we'll go out and get a couple more. So I'm feeling pretty confident, more confident than I have, enough that I feel like I'm doing the confidence. Am I overconfident? But if I know I'm overconfident, then I did know I was over, that kind of thing you do with yourself. But I think we're in good shape, and very much looking forward to it. Love the idea that our depth is starting to show out. So I think all three of us are picking the Buckeyes, and we will have our expert roundtable coming either later today or early tomorrow. For Ken Taco Hut, who said we need to pick Oregon again, pick Texas like we picked Oregon, you may be at the wrong site, son, because I have not picked someone to beat the Buckeyes since 2000 something.
Dan, maybe to your point, I'm seeing some of the comments. They can put their best guy on J.J. Smith, and they can put a safety over the top and take that away. Emeka Egbuka is your normal number one receiver on a football team. Like most teams have Emeka Egbuka, and that's their number one. He's a first-round draft pick. You just happen to have a superhuman on the other side, the 1A, 1B thing. So I'm confident that they could go to Emeka the whole game and beat you up and destroy you, and even our third receiver and beat you up and destroy you. I don't see a scenario where anyone's crazy enough to just simply go cover zero, put someone on an island with J.J. Smith. It's not going to happen. And Chip Kelly definitely knows how to hide a number one receiver from a double and put him in places where
not his first rodeo.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, not going to Texas. Not his first rodeo.
I see some comments too about the Texas-Michigan game, and I fully realize that is a totally different thing from the Ohio State-Michigan game. One was at the first game of the season, one was the last, and teams different. What I'm saying is that I know it shows that some people, I think, are taking Texas pretty lightly. The way they handle Michigan shows me they are capable of playing well. I know, and again, I know that was totally different parts of the season, and you can't compare matchups necessarily, but it just shows me that Texas is capable of playing well. They played well against Michigan. There's no doubt about it.
Let me put a finer point on that. What Bill's trying to say is Michigan is a very physical team up front, and Texas came in and played very physical against them. And that was the knock on us against Michigan, is how physical they were versus us. So I think that's the point that Bill's making, is you could be running into a team that could play some very physical football, which was our antidote or our poison, a few weeks back.
Yeah, and that's part of, at the beginning, what I was saying. Texas, I think it's going to be a very physical game. I think they're pretty good up front. Their front seven's pretty good, and they're going to be physical. I think it's going to be one of the most physical games of the season.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know what I think of Texas. I've seen them. I agree that Michigan game, I remember it vividly, partially because I was in Las Vegas by a pool, and I'm not right now, but I digress. They had not looked like that consistently throughout the season. The other team they played with a similar talent profile, which would be Georgia, they did not match up well against, and that's their 2 losses. So it's in there. There's no question, Bill, like you said, that from a talent perspective, I mean, you can even just go down the roster as a recruiting fan. You'll recognize a ton of names on Texas's roster because they're guys Ohio State went after. And that's usually a good way to know who's good, is if they said no to Ohio State and we're down to the stretch end of it. They tend to be good players. So, look, there's no question. That's not really an arguable point. Texas has as much talent, player for player, as any team Ohio State's gone against this season. Now, they're not necessarily healthy. That's another thing. Their offensive line, both their tackles, who are first-round guys, theoretically, have battled injuries throughout the year. So we shall see. I want to let you know, if you need some cash, we have a new sponsor, and this is an impressive one. You've probably seen it around. Let you know the Bucknuts Morning 5's fans are paying for our advertisers, which is great, and that is Rocket Money. So the start of a new year is the perfect time to get organized, set goals, prioritize what matters most. And for me and other guys here, financial wellness is my top priority, more important than ever. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals are achievable. They show me all my subscriptions right in one place. You got to know you're locked into Bucknutters for life, and it helps me easily cancel the ones that I forgot that aren't as good as Bucknuts. Rocket Money also pulls together all your spending across all different accounts, so you can clearly track your spending habits and see where you can cut back. It is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Who doesn't want that? Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon. All right. Now, we usually spend most of this show talking recruiting and portaling, and there's a lot of people over here demanding updates, as we talked about Texas. And if we would talk about updates, they'd be demanding we talk about Texas. But you guys are great. All right. 2 big names in the portal that we have discussed a lot in the last 2 days or so. We will start with the most well-known name in the portal. If you were to go to 24/7 Sports right now and search the latest from the 24/7 portal, the top available player by rating, Damon Wilson, Georgia. You all remember him out of Venice, Florida. He was one of the 3 defensive ends with Keon Keeley And I believe DJ Uyangale that we went down to the wire for went 0 for 3. But wouldn't you know, in the transfer portal, there is a tail on these recruitments. If you stay above board and they don't particularly dig their first destination, who knows? They may wind up in Columbus. And ladies and gentlemen, Damon Wilson, name of the hour. Bill, give us the latest. There was optimism when he went in, and it has not dulled, as it were.
Yeah, I still feel pretty good about where Ohio State is. I would not call it a 100% feeling on my part, but I like where Ohio State is. He is going to visit Ohio State. When he got in the portal, I put an article on our site immediately that this is one Ohio State is going to go after, and this is one that everybody should be aware of ending up at Ohio State. I still feel that way. I think it's a matter really of Ohio State finishing off the deal and getting him to Ohio State. And I tend to like the chances that happens, to be honest. It's just a good fit. I mean, he loved Ohio State coming out of high school. Ohio State is losing their two stud defensive ends in Tuimoloau and, of course, Jack Sawyer, who has been fantastic. They've got some talent coming back. Caden Curry, of course, Kenyatta Jackson. Logan George is coming in. But if you put Damon Wilson with that group, you've got a really strong group again of defensive ends at Ohio State.
Mark, sorry about that. Mark, thankfully, this is the guy you know because we covered him in recruiting. He's actually done really well at Georgia. To say people were shocked he's in the portal, I think would be accurate.
Bill, don't tease us. Don't say he's coming here and get us excited, because he's one of those players that you could get excited about. This film is actually different than when we watched the other day. And you see it right away. This isn't a defensive end. This is an electric linebacker body, a pass rusher extraordinaire. Even if he just came as a pass rusher, if we had him for the next couple of games, he would instantly inject something into our defense that we don't have right now off the edge. Tomorrow morning, our defense is different with him in a rotation or him coming in. I'm sure Coach Knowles will find a way to make him a starter and use his strengths, whether it's hand in the dirt, standing up the backside, jack, Leo position, whatever it's called anymore. But he is, like Dan likes to say, a werewolf, a creature. He may get bigger and maybe will be a defensive end by the time he goes to the NFL. But, boy, transfer portals with players like this, just it blows my mind that these are the type of players that are going to show up on Ohio State's door, where the high school recruits that are coming in, these 5-star guys that we're in love with, you just don't stand a chance when someone's bringing in a first-round pick who's fully developed to come play, 60 snaps a game for you. So upgrade for Ohio State if Bill is right. Just fingers crossed, Bill, because you got us excited again.
Yeah, people are I saw Zoo. I'm back. I saw Sue. Sue's one of those names. It doesn't sound hard, and you use it in a sentence, and it makes you tie your tongue up. Question whether or why Damon Wilson is leaving Georgia. And I'll say this. I used to be one of those people that was overly judgmental of transfers. For example, I didn't want, the Washington Redskins drafted a guy named Josh Doxson a few years ago in the first round from TCU. But he had transferred to TCU and wasn't that highly regarded out of high school. I'm not into that. I think I need to be one of the people. You can't worry about transferring anymore. The reasons people transfer now, lots of other reasons, be it finances, be it whatever. People are just more likely to go into the portal for greener pastures now than they ever have been in the past. And over 50% of the quarterbacks 2 seasons ago were transfers. So the idea that a guy is leaving does not now mean he's a malcontent. He didn't get along with his coaches. He's running from a girl or something like that. It just doesn't mean what it used to mean. So
I agree with you on that. There was a stink that came with kids. Like, why is he available? What did he do? We don't know about. But now anymore, it could just simply be about money and opportunity for draft position or opportunity to win. When you're in rare air playing for a Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, and you just kind of switch to another one, you maybe just be sliding your chips like, here's the team I think has the best chance to win it all next year. I'm going to go do with them.
And I get the finally named game.
And I'll say it's all fun and games until it happens to us.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay. That's a true point, and it hasn't really happened yet. So when people complain about money, we have plenty of money. I don't understand really why people complain about that. I saw Chris Carter interviewed yesterday on some show, and he even pointed it out, though. We were not first in spending. I think we were third. I believe Oregon and Texas were ahead of us, but look, Damon Wilson, I don't think there's a character issue. And keep in mind, like Bill said, it is a good fit. They know this guy. This is not them going to recruit a guy they don't know. Larry Johnson, back in the day when you actually had to recruit and go visit the recruits, not just send them a Venmo request, they have the knowledge of the guy. So, keep in mind, I use the Downs family as an example. You think they know football? The dad played. The son is the older son plays for the Colts. The son went to Saban. Saban left, and he came here. So when people get a second chance to come to Ohio State, I don't think we should be surprised. All right, Bill. The other mode we use is, and I'm not kidding, this may be the new thing to do. If you're a borderline Buckeye from Ohio, go to another school, start for 2 years, and then we'll come get you. Bill, bring us up to speed on a Montana State prospect who's trying to go with the Philly Daniels approach.
Yeah, Conor Moore, and he is a young man I like a lot. He's 6'5", 310 pounds, and that's not 6'5", 310 pounds listed in high school, where a whole lot of times the listings aren't right in high school. That's what he's listed as in college, which those listings tend to be a little more accurate than when you're a 16-year-old kid in high school and you don't know exactly who is coming up with the measurements and weights. So, yeah, he's a 6'5", 310-pound kid from Millbury Lake High School, which is in north to northwest Ohio, kind of in the Toledo area. Small conference they play in, Division V. Wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. He got an offer from Montana State, took it, and did very well there. He is a kid that, in fact, Chris Helmer tweeted this out. Our portal guy will be one of the most sought-after offensive tackle guys that now in the portal. And the thing that benefits Ohio State there is he is from Ohio and he wants to play back and get back to this part of the country. He's had opportunities once he got in the portal to go south and to go to some good schools. He said, going back to the part of the country I grew up in. He visited Cincinnati yesterday, going to visit Michigan State here. And then, as I posted on our site last night, he will be at Ohio State with both parents on Saturday, coinciding with when Ohio State gets back from, hopefully, and again, I think they will get back with a win, but hopefully with a win over Texas. So he will be here in Columbus Saturday with both parents for a visit. I tend to think that will wrap up his visits, but that is not a sure thing. I was told that if he needs to take a fourth visit, he will. But don't expect him to take that fourth visit to Georgia, for instance. He's not looking to go south. He's not going to take that fourth visit and stay out in the West and go to USC, for instance. So we will see how it goes, but he's, again, another guy that I would not bet against the Buckeyes to get him. And if they add Damon Wilson and Conor Moore to the 6 guys they got right now, that would be tremendous. And the portal is not done. As soon as somebody loses tonight, there's going to be portal entries from one of those teams. And then you're going to have the loser of the championship game and so forth, and the winner for that matter. Ohio State wins the national championship, for instance, if they do. That doesn't mean their guys are done getting in the portal. So, that 5-day rule always opens up new windows.
There's literally 100% chance that people from the Buckeyes are going to enter the portal when the season's over. It's on every team now.
Yep.
It is a constant. It is not a variable. Do not look at it as a variable, or you will have your heart broken consistently. Mika, I am worried about you. We're going to lose some players here that we recruited. There's nothing you can do about it, and it's not a sign of the program crumbling. Marcus, take it away for us. Here's my question for you. I'd like to hear from you, Mark, about what you thought about my guy when you first saw him, if he even made Scouting Ohio's site, and then to where we are now. And do you see this as a trend for Ohioans? That would tend to be your wheelhouse.
Hey, before, Mark, you start, one thing you said, Dan, we're going to lose some guys. We're going to lose some guys in a good way. What is wrong with Ohio State losing an offensive lineman in the portal that's not going to play at Ohio State and bringing in Conor Moore, if they do, who's going to be a starter most likely? Ohio State wins in that situation. So take it, Mark.
Yeah, and Billy, I said that the other day, is when we added those 4 recruits in one day when we were all celebrating, I was like, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're going to lose 4. Now, bringing in a defensive end for Georgia and Conor Moore, yeah, you can cut 2 freshmen tomorrow and you'll never feel it because you've upgraded your starting roster so significantly. You'll always cut depth to do that. This is just, and this is a hard word to say, the most cutthroat way to build a roster there is. This is NFL free agency where, hey, we're going for winning. We don't have time to develop you if you don't want to stick around and be developed, because we're going to keep signing the best possible players we can. Conor Moore, Millbury Lake, Northwest Ohio, very small school. He was a tight end type kid in high school, more number 40. And, then moved to center. And, so he was that long body that grew into this. And when you see him now, he's Pro Football Weekly's highest graded tackle a couple times during the season. And his body is long and lean. He fits that left tackle. It's almost like Buckeye fans manifested this specimen they need at left tackle somewhere in college football. And now he's on his way here. As and of the guys we're getting, I know Dan liked one. This might be my favorite guy, not just because he's from Ohio, but there's really a lot of depth we've brought in, and it's really going to help out next year. And competition just breeds success. And boy, this transfer portal is crazy to me right now. The type of talent we could bring in, I just feel bad for the high school guys.
Pete Carroll's Competition Tuesday that he always had at USC. Tuesday was Competition Tuesday at USC when Carroll was there. You either go out and play well, or you don't start come Saturday.
I got no problem with that. This is the top of the food chain here, too. Keep in mind, we talk about the standard and stuff like that. Part of the standard is the best at all times, so I don't have any issue with that approach. You can't have the expectations we have and then have some kind of basically what you're saying is it's the ultimate purest meritocracy out there. Teams that get away from running their squad as a meritocracy start to lose. You want to know cracks in the armor? Look at the teams that have the purest form of a meritocracy. The better players just play. And there's no worries about, oh, he's the coach's son, or, oh, he's older than that guy, he should be playing. It's that's not an issue. The best players should play.
I saw you flash the question up there.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you want to flash up there again.
Which one was it?
The one you just flashed a second ago. I read half of it. I didn't get through the whole thing. I thought we were going to talk about it. That's why you put it up there.
This one? 1 sec.
There you go. And then what I was going to get to is this weekend I head to Charlotte for the football coaches convention. And exactly what you're putting right there is exactly what will be discussed in the conference meetings. I know a lot of the college conferences get together, and these are the annual meetings where they talk about exactly what we're worried about. What is going to happen with NFL? Who's going to put or NIL, the guidelines? I think we said something about Nick Saban maybe being, some president, commissioner or something like that.
James Franklin has come out and said he thinks that Nick Saban should be the grand poobah, as it were, of college football.
Would not be the worst idea we've ever heard, because every college coach I talk to does not like the current state of affairs and does not like it in such a way. And I talk to more than just Ohio State coaches. That's why I say this. So there will be probably a majority of coaches that want to see some guidelines or some sort of fairness or some sort of cap. And who better to lead a bunch of stray cats than a guy like Nick Saban to herd them all together and say, listen, guys, for the good of everything and the good of everyone, let's find something, and I know I can see Dan going, this is kind of good for Ohio State right now. We don't want to mess with this system, and I agree. And Dan and I, we're Cowboys, Niners fans. We didn't want to mess with it in the 80s and 90s when our teams were ruling the world. Like when, you just, hey, we're fighting over Deion Sanders and Charles Haley and the rest of the leagues in, fifth place. Jerry Jones wishes that's the way things still were, but for the good of the NFL and Sunday Ticket and fantasy football and all the great things that have come from the parity in the league and it being equal and everyone's team having a chance, even the Browns, Bill. Parity as an idea may strike a lot of chords. Dan is just like, no.
Who wants parity?
Yeah, let's twirl our evil mustache.
I don't want parity.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want them to change it. I'm going to go on record right now. You've been alluding to it. Let me just say it out loud. I hope they keep it the way it is.
I'm not alluding to it. I hope
the rich get richer.
Yeah.
Because we're rich.
I know someone who wants parity. The NFL. They do everything they can to get parity.
And look, how's that going?
They're making a lot of money. Now,
there's also the same team. I'm not saying I'm
for the idea of parity. I'm saying there's going to be a meeting in Charlotte. And if you're Northwestern, if you're Purdue, if you're a majority of the teams who aren't this top 10 or 20, which is another 100 teams, yeah. I mean, in a lot of those bottom end teams from 50 to 130 probably don't, I don't want to say they don't deserve a vote because it makes it like, but I think there's going to be some prevailing idea that, okay, we can have the rich getting richer, but this is chaos. And like I said a little bit ago, it's all fun and games until someone offers Jeremiah Smith $10 million. And then, okay, let's have a way to protect players. Let's have a franchise player. Let's do 2 or 3 year deals. Let's have agents lock guys down where they can't jump. I saw they're going to put a financial penalty on kids who want to transfer. I just saw that idea. No, when you sign your scholarship now and you sign a 2 or 3 year deal,
I don't buy any of that stuff.
Dan's going to put it like a kibosh on everything that could possibly stop this gravy train.
No. I'm just saying.
But
that's not what I'm saying.
Dan, I want it the way you want it. I want it the way Buckeye fans want it. I'm just telling you, when I talk to college coaches, they want to be the Grinch that stole Christmas. And I'll let you talk now. Yeah.
Okay. When you talk to college coaches who don't work at Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Texas, LSU, Florida State, guess who runs college football? Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, Texas, LSU, This, I don't think this is coming. I know everyone says, the guardrails are coming. Why would, and maybe someone can show me an example anywhere in life where, and by the way, the NFL is not a good example for a variety of reasons we could dive into, largely because they can cut you if you're hurt. You can't do that in college football. And I don't want to get into a deep discussion on that because you could probably figure out a way to make it similar. But why would we want to change this again? We keep talking about, hold on a second. I'm saying, look, I get you're talking from the global sense. I am not. I am talking from this sense, this guy and this team.
High school debate team. You have that side. I have this side. Go ahead. Yeah.
Why would we want to change this? We talk about being uncharted waters. Looking around in the uncharted waters. Who's still around? Not many boats, okay? And our boat is bigger, stronger, and faster than anyone else's boat. Why we want to change this? Is the love for Ohio State going to diminish? Let me ask you another question. We talked about the money. Do you know anybody who's given money to Ohio State or the foundation or whatever? Are they missing meals right now? No. This money is out there. Okay, it's not going anywhere. Do you want to go into the portal and get people like Damon Wilson after 2 years? I do. I don't have any idea why we'd want to change this. And I get people don't like the idea of people getting paid. I actually don't care about that. The players deserve the money. That money is going to somebody, by the way. That's another thing I never understood. It's not like we don't give it to the players and then it just goes into the ether. It goes into an adult's pocket. Why can't the kids get some? So I like it the way it's going. People talk, you know why people talk about the transfer portal in Ohio State and all the money? Because the guys they did get in the portal, and by the way, an extreme majority of the money was given to guys who came back. But when we did go into the portal, listen to who we got. Caleb Downs, best transfer ever? Maybe. Quinshon Judkins, he's good. Will Howard, is he good? Seth McLaughlin, did he have a good year here? They're household names that are transfers, so everyone assumes we had the biggest transfer pool. Go look at what Mississippi did. Go look at what Florida State did. How'd that work out when they brought in all the transfers? So some of this is like myth versus reality. In reality, if it's a money game, if the two big things you go to college for are money and exposure to get to the NFL, this is good for Ohio State. Mark, the floor is yours in the debate team.
I think and you maybe misinterpreted what I'm saying. I don't want to shut down the portal. I don't want to shut down NIL. I think those are good things for players in general, but I think I may correctly state this better. Even amongst the top 20 teams you stated, I think we might want to get some honor among thieves.
I get you.
So,
right.
you don't want
to be too slimy. It's too slimy.
Yeah. And
you want to go through and take out some slime. I get that. But the bottom line is the rich are going to get richer.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I'm not against that. And, but I think even Ohio State coaches would say, hey, we need some sort of guardrail or governing system. Because right now this is a wild, wild west where I'm not saying agents are the answer, but laws and rules. And I did see something where they're going to start doing where when you sign your deal, you're going to have to represent it. You can't just say, I'm going to take, like Quinn Ewers, I'm taking all this money to Ohio State and 6 months later you're gone. Now, nothing was probably on paper on both sides of that. Maybe, like the kid at Nevada or UNLV had the quarterback that left after 4 games. Nothing was on paper. How are you going to stop him? You were supposed to give him this money. He's getting screwed. He's screwing you back. So I think that's maybe where I'm talking from. Now, when you say, Mark, you're talking globally, there's no doubt 120 of those teams or 100 teams would vote against Ohio State's interest in some sort of voting to make college football better. They would want more money put their way with TV deals. They would want more money. But that's not the way college football is. Realistically, when you're talking the truth, there's 20 teams that college football cares about, and the rest of them are playing, and they're every now and then they have their moments, and they have great players pop out of those places. But this playoff thing is going to be in 10 years. If we look at the 12 teams that are in it over the next 10 or 20 years, 8 of them might be the same every year. So, or not every year, but we're going to start seeing, like you're saying, the big boys play this game on a different level and their teams are built in a different way. We saw the separation in some of those first round playoff games where, wow, maybe over the years, teams 8 through 12 really didn't have the claim we thought they had and really weren't as strong, or there is a drop off after the tier of Ohio State and whatever. And you can see that drop off more clearly in a playoff system. We'll see how this all plays out.
It's just me, and then the dean's going to have to come in and give the verdict on this. Someone's getting paddled. I think 2 things. One, it's small sample size theater. We've done this for a year and a half now, so you can't jump out too much. My least favorite thing of the college football season was people freaking out over results of a football game. We've done it once. If you flip a coin 4 times and it comes up heads, that doesn't mean it could come up heads 4 times in a row. That doesn't mean it's not 50-50. You got to give it some more time than that. And I also think the thing that's exacerbated everything is that a lot of the problems that people are worried about, I think, could be fixed by just fixing the schedule. Having the transfer portal open and stuff when teams are still playing is just friggin' stupid the way they do it. They need to create a schedule where it's like football, transactions, football. Now they've got football transactions all mixed into one. I think everyone would be a lot happier with things if there was like a clear delineation of when it happened, and they wouldn't have to have like mixed allegiances here. If we're like following Damon Wilson after Georgia lost, we were thinking about going against him. Now we want to recruit him, but we still got to do this because you've got kind of divided allegiances here. I think when they line it all up, it'd be better off. William, you've added transfer portal to your recruiting vibes. What's your feeling on the whole thing? Do you get the sense there's going to be a lot of major changes, or do you get the sense that Ohio State will be able to run roughshod on the competition like they have been?
Out of all that, my two biggest things, and I felt this way for a long time, and you hit on one of them at the end there, Dan, the schedule is crazy. I mean, they've got to do something with that. They've tweaked it and stuff, but the schedule of having the portal totally open and teams playing and all, it's just not conducive. So I totally agree with your point on that, Dan. The schedule is a big thing for me. You've got to fix it so it's not like it is now. And I know, and I've heard Nick Saban talk about this. It's just crazy. The other thing is that I would like to see them get back to more what the NIL was originally all supposed to be all about. Not paying high school players to come to your school, which it is in a big part now, but paying players for what they have done once they get to your school. So, that's what the NIL is right now is not what it was originally meant to be. They wanted to, and I agree, pay those guys for pay Jeremiah Smith for what he is doing right now at Ohio State. He deserves it. But just giving a boatload of money to high school kids is not what the original plan was. Paying high school kids to come to your school is not what the original plan was all about.
A lot to talk about here, and this is also one of those topics that
this topic gets us every time. Every time we're getting a 50-minute podcast if we start debating this. And Bill, I love your point about this is not, and that's why I say the coaches are so unhappy. This NIL is not what it was supposed to be. It was immediately abused. It was immediately abused by everybody. And, and you're right, the money might not be going where it's most deserved. Jeremiah Smith should be making the most in college football. Maybe not the most, but there should be a tier, and the high school kids should be nowhere near that tier.
Unless their name's Jeremiah Smith.
There we go again. Back the chicken or the egg. What came first?
But
I know.
Yeah, see, that's what you're dealing with, though. That's why the draft, the first player pick gets the most money. They just have organized it. This is just the Wild West of it, and it kind of takes care of itself like in a free market approach. I keep coming back to the same thing. If you want it to be fair for everybody, fine. I am not involved with worrying about everybody. I work in a site called Bucknuts. Okay. I want Ohio State to do well. I think things changed for Ohio State when this guy got here. Okay. When winning mattered more than air. By the way, I will say this and then we'll get out. I thought that this was going to be worse for college coaches. I'm not sure in the long run if this NIL in a lot of ways has made it better for college coaches. They don't need to go on the road anymore. There's no need to go. I heard Urban Meyer say this. We're not going on the road. We're just going to show up, like I said, Venmo request. Now, Mark doesn't like that, and it's not romantic, and things are changing. But if you're a football coach and you had to spend a week on the road away from your family, or you can send out 3 Venmo requests, which would you rather do? So I think sometimes we assume things are going to be one way, and they may be the other way. All right, before we go, Mark, score and winner.
Ohio State probably by 10 or 15 points. If Ohio State doesn't score 30 to 40 points, I'd be shocked. In Texas, they might not get to the 20s. They might score twice with a field goal. So that's kind of the way I feel it. The defense for Jim Knowles could show up in a big way and really, end this game, almost like the Oregon game where you have a worry-free fourth quarter.
William.
Ohio State by approximately 10 points, and it could be more than that. I think, again, how Ohio State starts has been really important, and I think that's one thing I'll be watching. If they start well, like they did, for instance, anything close to like they did against Oregon, it could be more than that.
The round table comes out. I believe I picked 34-24 Ohio State. The thing about that I don't know how Texas is getting to 24 without some mistakes. The last times Ohio State has lost, this is the Michigan game, Oregon game. I don't count Missouri. Go back to Michigan last year. There was a time in the fourth quarter, and there was even this year against Michigan, we just couldn't stop them. They drove down. Now, it was only one drive. If you go back and look at this year's Michigan game, it was kind of fluky, like there was only 3 drives in the quarter, yada, yada. It wasn't like the year before, but we couldn't stop them by the end of the game, and that was because they had figured something out. I think Michigan was able to run the ball, or I just don't see an offense from Texas being in a position where we can't stop them. So very optimistic. Let's hope we are here on Tuesday talking about a national championship approach. Just for ha-has before we get out of here, your thoughts on the other game quickly. Mark, Notre Dame or Penn State?
Notre Dame just looks like they are so hot. But Penn State is tough. The quarterback can really sling it around. I think it's a field goal game. I really think they're both pretty hot and pretty equally matched. I feel like I want to pick one or root for one. I don't have a dog in that race. I don't have a heart that loves Notre Dame or Penn State. So I'd go with Penn State just for the Big Ten. You know what? I watched about a month ago. I watched an EA Sports simulation of the playoffs, and Ohio State and Penn State met in the title game.
How did we do?
And Penn State won on the last drive.
That's inaccurate. That was an inaccurate simulation.
Simulation.
What
maybe to avoid that scenario, I should pick Notre Dame. But I think both teams, it's down to a field goal. If someone makes a mistake in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't put money on the game on either team.
William?
I'm not sure what to make of Penn State, right, playoff-wise. I mean, you had the 4 conference champions that got byes, and Penn State got a bye too. With who they had to play, I just don't know what to think of them as far as that goes. I saw them obviously in the regular season, saw them against Ohio State and all. I guess I tend to feel like Notre Dame, Mark mentioned, it is the hot team right now. So maybe they eke out a win. But kind of like you guys are saying, I guess it wouldn't shock me one way or the other, either team win that game. And to be honest, I think that the winner of the Ohio State-Texas game beats either one of those teams.
I would say, who would you rather see Ohio State play in the next game? Who do you feel more confident that they could curb stomp?
Yeah, no.
I'm playing moderator now, Dan, so you got to get some.
I appreciate it. I'm not going to charge you for that at all. The question is, it's a staff question. Some people like to go against a team for the second time. Some people like to reveal the stuff to you. That tends to be a coaching thing. I think that the Penn State game, here's another thing about Penn State and Texas and Notre Dame. Believe it or not, they're more injured than Ohio State right now. If you look, yes, there was a huge storyline throughout the year about the guys that we lost on the offensive line, but we've largely, patched that up. And our main players are healthy and fresh. If you look at the other teams, the war of attrition is getting to them. Depth is not something in the eye of the storm you're often able to assess perfectly. And as we go further and further and further, we're deeper than these other teams. So regardless, I don't think the Penn State team or the Notre Dame team, Notre Dame we haven't played before, but it's not like Abdul Carter is a game time decision. Now I expect him to play, but the fact that he's, limited, I think Notre Dame will beat Penn State. I don't really know why I think that. I don't have a real good vibe on either. Neither team does the one thing I just said that scares me the most, which is be able to beat you over the top consistently. They just don't do that. They don't even try. And that's the last time I saw Ohio State really getting their butt kicked was in Austin Stadium. I said butt kicked. So I will go with Ohio State versus Notre Dame, and that would be, I don't know, will the SEC make it if Ohio State and Notre Dame play in the championship? That would really affect Southern voting, Southern everything, the emasculation of an entire region. I think we'd all be here and happy to see it. Appreciate these guys stopping by. We will be back with bells on sooner than later. And if you are still here, you are probably hungry and you need Factor meals. No longer TV dinners like in Risky Business where Tom Cruise took the frozen Salisbury steak. No. 2 minutes to food love. This is real food, real good, suitable, food snob approved from my children. It is ready to eat, dietitian approved, heat and eat in 2 minutes. It arrives fresh and fully prepared, all different types. They got Factor keto meals. They got Calorie Smart, Protein Plus. You can get smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. You can reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that cannot be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Bucknuts50off and use code Bucknuts50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Bucknuts50off at factormeals.com/Bucknuts50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. For real, this is good stuff. I'm telling you. Microwave chicken to me is usually gross, and this is delicious. Let's hope we have a delicious football game coming up. Have a good one. Not a